Welcome to Faultlines, viewers. I'm Gauri Dwivedi, and this week I get you the latest that's happening in the Middle East and why the Trump administration is riling up against the next leader of Iraq. We also get you sensational inside details of the massive purge taking place in the Chinese army that has seen the military wing of the Chinese Communist Party being reduced to just two, a figure not seen since the People's Republic of China actually came into being. Let's get you the first story on Faultlines. A new flashpoint is now blinking red on the world map. That's Iraq, the same place where American boots once defined the battlefield. It's back at the center of a political storm. US President Donald Trump is warning Iraq, saying choose the wrong leader, and Washington walks away. The man in Trump's crosshairs is Nouri al-Maliki. His supporters call him a strongman. Critics call him a spark near dry tinder. On the streets of Baghdad, anger is boiling over. Flags are burning. Sovereignty is the slogan. So who really is this man? And why is Donald Trump drawing a red line, picking up yet another potential conflict in the Middle East? And with America already pulling back, what does this really mean for Iraq and the region? Let's get into it.
Baghdad's Tahrir Square, once the heartbeat of revolution, is echoing again. This time with fire. Trump's picture burns. The American flag goes underfoot. And the chants are unmistakable. No America, no interference. The trigger? A blunt warning from Donald Trump aimed straight at Nouri al-Maliki. Trump says if Maliki returns as Iraq's prime minister, US support ends. No aid, no backing, no safety net. For many Iraqis, this wasn't diplomacy. This was an ultimatum.
هي اعتراض وتنديد على التصريحات الأمريكية التي تمس السيادة العراقية وبها اعتداء سافر على حقوق الشعب العراقي وعلى السيادة العراقية.
Nouri al-Maliki is no stranger to power or controversy. He ruled Iraq from 2006 to 2014. Years marked by sectarian bloodshed and the rise of ISIS. Critics say his policies fractured the country. Supporters say he stood firm when Iraq was under fire. Today, Maliki is back, nominated by the powerful coordination framework. And Trump sees him as too close to Iran. Washington wants Baghdad to lean west, not east. Maliki, the US believes, tilts towards Tehran. Trump didn't mince words, calling Maliki's past rule chaos and warning Iraq has zero chance without America. But on Baghdad streets, that message landed hard and wrong. Protesters aren't retreating. They're rallying for Maliki. The timing couldn't have been more volatile. Iraq has just announced a full withdrawal of US forces from federal territory. After 2 decades, America's military footprint is shrinking fast. And now, Iraq is making one thing clear. This fight is political, but the emotions are personal.
Now, viewers, this crisis didn't begin with a tweet, and in all probability, it's not going to end with one either. America's relationship with Iraq has been written in war rooms, ballot boxes, and body counts. As US forces step away, the echoes of past decisions are getting louder. And how did Washington actually get here? What did it cost? What did it change? Let's put out some of those numbers for you to understand why this is complicated and why this will take a lot longer than just a couple of tweets. First and foremost, this is when the invasion of Iraq happened, 2003, by US under President George Bush. Now, that is when things started to become extremely volatile in Iraq. 2003 to 2004 is when the Saddam Hussein regime fell. Chaos followed. That, of course, was due to the weapons of mass destruction, which American forces never managed to find. 2004 to 2008 is when the insurgency and sectarian war was at its peak. That is when Maliki came into being. He was the second prime minister post Saddam Hussein Iraq. And that happened during the period 2006 to 2014 when Maliki era deepened divides. Now, what was it that was happening? He was the one who was held responsible for actually sidelining the Sunnis and the Kurds even more than what had happened earlier in Iraq. And that is why Maliki era saw massive divisions, conflict and sectarian violence in Iraq. 2014 to 2018 is when ISIS emerged. And many say that it was due to Maliki that ISIS actually managed to gain such foothold in Iraq because of the deep divisions that his government sat over, presided over, and actually pushed ahead. 2020 to 2024 is when the troop drawdown actually happened and accelerated when United States actually stepped back. 2026 is when it's looking to step in. In the middle of this, ISIS, which is the ISIS, had actually made deep gains. It actually managed to get Mosul, and the deep divisions in the Iraqi society have all happened during this period. And in fact, that is where these things look so volatile. Now, viewers, if you take off your blinkers to understand what really is happening in the region, Donald Trump is very clear. He makes no bones about interfering in elections that happen across the world. He's done so in half a dozen countries. Venezuela, you may think happened a long time back, but actually was just a couple of weeks back. He got Maduro back into United States to face American law. In the midst of this, Donald Trump is clear that Maliki is backed by Iran, and an Iranian-backed Iraqi leader spells deep trouble for United States interests in the region. There are protesters who are denouncing what Donald Trump has said. Protests are actually taking place across Iraq. Will this lead to more confrontation? Will this lead to Donald Trump pressing the pedal against Iran is the big question. But what is going to happen in the next couple of weeks will be yet another wave that will reshape the Middle East. All right, on that note, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side, tell you all that you need to know about the Chinese purge in the Chinese army led by Xi Jinping and why his most favorite general is now at the receiving end of the mega purge. Stay with us, we come back with that story. The spotlight is now firmly on China's military leadership. And let me tell you, it's not, in fact, flattering. Beijing has confirmed an investigation into its most senior leader. In fact, someone who's very close to the president. That is Zhang Yuxia. He is the same man who was once at the very heart of President Xi Jinping's control over armed forces. The allegations are severe: corruption, abuse of authority, unauthorized sharing of sensitive nuclear weapons information with the United States. For a system that's built on deep secrecy and, of course, complete 100% obedience, bordering on servility, this is a huge red flag. So first, let's tell you exactly what happened and the fallout of what's happening. Then we widen the lens to the long chain of purges that brought China's military to this point. All right, let's now break this down for you as to what are the several purges that have taken place. This is the latest general who's under investigation in Xi Jinping's China right now. There have been many that have happened in the past. Most senior uniformed officer moved from effective command. Once Xi Jinping's closest military ally, now accused of systemic corruption and violation. Investigators cite unauthorized disclosure of nuclear weapons data. The charge elevates this from corruption to national security breach. Senior posts allegedly exchanged for large payments. Defense procurement emerges as a key pressure point. Multiple generals tied to Chang are now under scrutiny. Devices have been seized. Networks have been mapped, investigations have been expanding. This probe allows years of targeted removals, remember. Each wave has moved closer to Xi Jinping's inner circle. Former vice chairman jailed or expelled. Corruption used to dismantle old power centers. Commanders of China's nuclear missile arm have been removed. Signals deep concern over weapons oversight and loyalty. Discipline and loyalty apparatus itself has been completely targeted. And I think that's the single biggest thing in terms of why this purge is unlike any that has happened in the past. Now, taken together, these removals tell a clear story. This is a restructuring from top down. China's military has been through purges before, but never like what is happening right now. Investigations into General Zhang caps a decade-long campaign that has steadily stripped away PLA's most senior leadership, leaving President Xi Jinping with not just unprecedented personal control, but also effectively the only one commanding what is becoming an increasingly thin command bench. Take a look.
The first wave began soon after Xi Jinping took power. Senior generals from early administrations were removed on corruption charges, breaking long-standing patronage networks inside the People's Liberation Army. Former Central Military Commission Vice Chairman Xu Zhaihu and Yu Boxiong were accused of selling promotions for cash. Their downfall signaled that no rank was beyond reach. The second phase shifted focus from legacy figures to operational leadership. Senior commanders responsible for training, planning and battlefield readiness were investigated. These included former Joint Staff Chief Fang Fenghui and political work head Zhang Yang. By 2023, the purges moved into sensitive territory. China's rocket force, the branch responsible for nuclear and strategic missiles, came under investigation. Its commander, Li Yuchao, was removed, followed by a sweeping review of missile procurement and command oversight. Defense ministers were next. Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe were both expelled for corruption linked to weapons acquisitions, exposing deep problems in the defense industry. The most recent phase has focused on the Central Military Commission itself, the body that commands millions of troops. Multiple members, including vice chairman and political leaders, were removed or suspended. The result is unprecedented. Supporters say the campaign has enforced loyalty and discipline. Critics argue it has stripped the military of experienced leadership and concentrated decision-making at the very top. Either way, the largest purge since Mao has permanently altered how China's military is run.
Aina Tangent, Senior Fellow at the Center for International Governance Innovation, joins me on the broadcast. Mr. Tangent is a very vocal supporter, passionate supporter of the CCP. Joins me today on Faultlines to talk about what's happening. The military purges continuing right now. Mr. Tangent, the CMC is down to 2, and that includes the president himself.
Yeah, I like living in China. I've been here for 21 years, but I wouldn't say I'm a passionate supporter. I'm a commentator. I'm a US citizen. In terms of what is happening, the most far-reaching reform of the PLA has happened since the 1950s under Xi Jinping. What was before was 7 route armies, and these were basically, they split up the entire China, and they were armies unto themselves. They had their own factories, they had their own schools, etc. They were completely unto themselves. They were fiefdoms, and there was concerns about them being literally like warlords. So he came in, he reformed them, and he made it very clear that there'd be no corruption. The military was extremely corrupt. Isn't something I'm saying. It's something that is a fact, and anyone you talk to during that period would be the same. So he's been changing that, and apparently he wanted to send a very strong signal. The number two under him was not only a close friend, but their families had been friends.
Yes.
Generally, in these situations, they would have allowed him to retire. But in this particular case, it seems that Xi Jinping wanted to send a very strong message that corruption, no matter who you are, will not be tolerated.
So it's been going on since 2012, 2013, actually, when President officially took over. And since then, there have been rounds of purges. But many believe, and analysts say, that this is also because the closest general of Xi Jinping did not agree with the 2027 Taiwan invasion assessment for China. And that's the reason why he faced this fate.
Well, there are a lot of rumors going around. There's also the Wall Street Journal was trying to say that he was leaking classified nuclear secrets to the United States. It's not possible. People are speculating because of what happens, and to a certain extent, it's very difficult to know exactly what the workings of the inner circle are. But I can tell you, sometimes it's what they call Occam's razor. The simplest answer is the one that is probably true. So in this particular case, it was about corruption, and you can't argue with it. The fact is that there are 20 generals removed, top ones, including this created rocket force, and it was corrupt to the core. And unfortunately, the fact is that the number two and his tenant were the ones who appointed them. So there is definitely some reason to believe that there was some understanding.
Mr. Tangent, there are very serious charges of treason leveled against him. But I want to ask you this. What does it speak of the Chinese army when you have general after general, leader after leader being probed, purged for corruption? What does it speak about the battle readiness of the army?
Well, I can't speak to the battle readiness of the army. I'm not an expert, and I don't study them, nor do I know much about them. But I do know that this
what I meant was, if it's so corrupt to the core, can it actually be of any use in a conflict?
I don't think that anyone wants to press that point. If you saw what they have done in terms of their military hardware, it's quite impressive. They are an untested but very disciplined force. This is what Xi Jinping was trying to create. 2015, he set in motion a number of reforms that did away with fiefdoms and said this is an army under the party, not under itself. So this is what you're seeing here. Obviously, you can speculate all you want, but I don't think that it's very useful.
All right. I'm not the one speculating. People inside China are the ones who are speculating.
Oh, no, I'm not saying.
And there are commentators around the world who are doing so. And legit questions around the battle readiness of an army, which seems to be so corrupt to the core that the president has been doing rounds and rounds of purges to ensure it becomes better. I'm going to leave it there, Mr. Tangent. Thanks always for speaking to us on Faultlines. Turning attention now to the Russia-Ukraine war. It's nearing its fourth year. A shadow Ukrainian unit is now changing the rules of modern warfare. It's known as the Hunters of Lyman. The elite drone team operates with speed, precision, and deadly accuracy against Russian forces. And Russian forces have figured that and experienced that when their fabled Black Sea fleet was actually attacked and completely decimated by these drones. Low-flying machines into powerful weapons they turn into. From concealed positions, operators track enemy movement. So what really is happening there? We speak to one such person and one drone fighter who tells us more about what exactly is it that takes part in terms of ensuring that this conflict, which has now become so uneven, actually leads to deep gains for Ukrainian armed forces. We're going to refer him as Leo. That's his call sign. He joins us for more on this. Leo, let me start by asking you that the entire battlefield has now been completely changed in the last few years when you talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. As someone who knows this personally on ground, the change in nature of these operations, how do you see that transformation and how do you see that working in favor of your country?
I remember because I was one of the guys who made a signal. And I remember our first mission with FPV drone. I think you know about FPV, and it was a task, we call that Blue Doors. So it was fantastic task, and our pilots was very great people. I mean, they know how it works, but it's work without we worked without money, because we was as I said, we was volunteer. And now we are the big battalion. We are the big battalion, and we transform from a small group of people to a big battalion. Yeah.
This is very important for our viewers to understand the changing dynamics of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now that battalion, that drone battalion has actually become so significant, how has the overall deployment actually changed, ensuring that these low-flying drones actually cause maximum damage to Russian forces? Leo.
We can't move without drones, because every time when we moved or move with the car, the drones was flying and make a reconnaissance mission, and it's so changed the war, because maybe a few years ago the war was just only with the gun, machine gun, artillery, like a helicopter. But now the war, we could say the drone war. We every time say that in Ukraine. It's of course drone cannot fly without a pilot, yes, but as I said about the Signum, about our unit, almost all almost all our pilot, they was be also like a small troops. They will there was been also like in a reconnaissance group, so they know how it works.
So, Leo, we are playing some of those visuals of how exactly those targets are identified and the kind of damage that drones do. I want to understand from you, how are enemy targets or Russian targets identified?
We always use a few things. The first thing is reconnaissance drone, DJI Mavic. I think you know about it. After it's worked, after he's flying, we can check the video. We can check the live translation. I mean, and of course we know the road, and we know the time when Russian troops just changed his position, or have a small how it's called, like. Have a small rotation, and as I said, the reconnaissance is working so good in our battalion. And after that, if we know that is it Russian troops or is it Russian vehicle, we approved it. And after our pilot make small, they have a few minutes to decide, and we have of course we have a good commander in our battalion, and he know what priority for us. It's more what priority is more biggest and more great for us.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, Leo. First time we have on Indian television first-hand account of how these drone units are causing maximum damage to Russian forces. Well, viewers, with that, we wrap things up on this edition of Faultlines. Thanks so much for watching. We come back next week with yet another conflict, yet another war zone decoded for you.